It's sending.
Is that email or
Email.
Anything, Fred?
yes? I was waiting for it to go full live, and we're good to go. Hey, what's up, family? Hope everybody is doing great, man. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful day. It is a truly blessing to be alive in this era, in this time, even going through what they call a pandemic. I believe with pandemic, man, I believe in this time now we could actually beat a pandemic of a voice. That's what One Blood is, man. Welcome to the One Blood Movement of Unity Eye Opener Tuesday show. I have two very, very special guests with me today, man. I'm so honored, man. The lovely, the truth Addie, Miss Addie Banks. I love you. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Fred.
Awesome, awesome. And a wonderful brother that I just met, man, about 3 weeks ago, man. It's been an honor to meet you, brother. My brother named Marseille Bush.
Good to meet you, Fred.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you, man. Welcome to the Eye Opener Tuesday show. Let me go ahead and give a good explanation, y'all, of what this show is still about. I always like to go over that because I want to make sure you know what we do so you have a clear understanding of how this bad boy goes. And this is not a platform to tear anybody down. This is not a platform that will disrupt or demoralize any race or any human being for their thought. For simply, it is their thought. It's their process. It's how they think. Do we find something wrong with the way people think? I imagine so, because everybody has an opinion. But we're not going to tear anyone down for just their train of thought. The Bible says it's well, the Bible doesn't say this, but I like to say this on my own. We should be the Bible that someone reads. So if we're going to be the Bible someone reads, that means we got to represent in a form of fashion of love and unity. Now we're saying that one blood is a very, 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 very beautiful foundation that God has really given me in a platform to unify people all back, unify people to the understanding we all are God's children, one human race. So I speak against racism. I'm also a life coach, and I coach young men from 18 to 35. And what I do with them is unite self with self. In other words, I teach them and grow them from inside out. Let them know who they are. Give them insight and betterment of their self. So that's who Fred is. I want my brother Marseille to introduce himself a little bit more. Tell me just a little bit more about you. Tell the family.
Okay. My name is Marseille Bush. I'm from Odenton, Maryland. That's a little bit outside of Baltimore. I am a facilities manager for one of the largest housing authorities in Maryland. I'm married and I'm a lifelong Maryland resident. And I got on this podcast because I thought it was very interesting and I wanted to contribute my thoughts through this positive process.
Amen. Amen. We're gonna hop on it. We're gonna hit it hard. Miss Addie, you wanna let them know who you are?
Thank you, Fred, and welcome, Mr. Bush. I'm Addie Banks, and if you have seen me before, then you know my story, so I'm not going to detain you long. I got interested in uh, race relations as an offshoot of understanding Black history. And so you will hear me shout from the rooftops how great a people we are, not because I say so, because our history says so.
Yes, sir.
So,
Right.
thank you for having me again.
Amen. I love it. I love it. That's why I love Miss Addie, Marseille, man, because it's so. That's our history. That's the fight for us. It has already been and now we have to continue it on. And the way we continue it on is learning and applying what we're being taught. So that's why I love Miss Addie being on, so knowledgeable and great with your words. So let me get into this, baby. Let me get into this real good, real smooth. I think it's gonna be a headbanger, y'all, because a lot of people had a lot of different suggestions, and they had a lot of greatness that was inside of them that I feel like that they really thought they was answering the question in the way that they perceived it. So the question was, is colorism worse than racism? Mars, Mr. Bush, I'm gonna go to you on this one. What's your thoughts coming from your perspective, especially out of Maryland? You said you bred and breeding in Maryland. So from your perspective, coming out of Maryland, man, and growing up in Maryland, I know you've seen a slight difference than it has been on the south side of where we're from, North Carolina. So what's it like on your end, brother?
I would say not so much difference. When I grew up in Southern Maryland, so I faced much adversity through racism. I remember going to school, being called the N word, or being discriminated against many times. I also, once I moved closer to DC, I'd say it's about the same. So but I don't think the racism is harsh. Like I'm sure in North Carolina, y'all have experienced crosses burning. Most of my race, yeah, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
most of my racism has mostly been like economic and social racism. You
Wow.
can't join this club. You can't buy an apartment here. You can't live in this sort of neighborhood or whatever. So most of my racial experiences, as far as colorism, yes, that does exist. We used to have a joke back in the day. You pass. You pass for white. They kind of favor you. And I always been dark, and I always accepted it. I never been ashamed of my color.
Amen. Amen. Now, when you was so you deal with more socialism
Yes, yeah,
when it comes to racism up there
exactly,
up in Maryland.
exactly.
That's
But
interesting.
but some of the more northern parts of Maryland, where the mountains are, yeah, you get the type of racism like we don't want no blacks around here. You know, but the colleges do accept the dark skinned because they want those football players or basketball players due to the talent. They want
I'm
that type.
laughing with you. They accept them darkies.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm laughing with everybody right now. I understand exactly where you're coming from with that.
They don't like regular black people, but they do like athletes and entertainers and that type of stuff.
It almost wants to make you say what's considered regular black folk
Exactly.
and what's considered unregular black folk. If that's even a, I don't even understand that one myself. I'm pretty
Right.
sure I could tweak that, but that ain't what about today's show is. Today's colorism and racism. So I'm gonna leave that part there alone. That's pretty good, man. That's where from your perspective, that's where you're at.
Right.
And for as dealing with it though, I know that's got to be from your perspective and growing up there at the age you are now, you haven't seen what we've seen, but what you have seen, what's been the beauty of dealing with it, or what can be twisted to make it change for the betterment of how we can live together.
Well, basically, we need to have equal economic opportunities for all of us. We can't just okay. You can't just pay the black man 50 cents and pay the white man $2. We have to be. That's the first thing, and I do believe there have been a lot of good black people saying, we need to economically put our dollars together, make our vote count with our dollars.
I understand. Let me read this for you, family. This says right here, colorism prejudice, discrimination against individuals with dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. I'm not gonna hit this yet, Ms. Addie. You know I'm gonna come with this in a minute because I'm gonna reread this. This is definition about this is from Webster. Webster said this, so don't blame Fred. Don't blame one blood. If you're gonna blame anybody, you need to blame Webster for this. This is Webster's definition. But Miss Addie, I want to get some truth. We call her Addie Truth, y'all, because this is where it's at right now. We want for is the history of this colorism and racism. Now, we both have an understanding of it. But if you don't mind, can you give us some enlightenment of education on it?
I will do my little best. Racism is based on how we treat other groups, based on the concept or the abstract term race. So how we're going to treat you if you belong to a certain race category. Colorism, as you read, is what are the gradations in skin tone within that group, and what value are we assigning to that group? We all know about the house slaves and the field slaves. And we know that the house slaves got special privileges. And
Indeed.
because many of them were light-skinned, offspring of the master, and therefore a system was set up that the closer your color is to the majority group, then the more acceptable you would be. And that's why we see through our history that when we look at even achievements that Blacks have been able to claim, many of them are light-skinned Negroes because they got opportunities based on their skin tone. There was a understanding that if you're light-skinned and closer to white people, then you're more intelligent. You're prettier. You're more refined. You're more acceptable. The piece that I hope your audience will grasp is that when we set up a system, it is not the victims, it is not the Black people who assign the value in that system. So many of the comments talked about how Black people were treating each other and light-skinned folks get dissed by the dark-skinned folks. Hold up. They didn't set the rules. The rules were set by the majority that said, this is who we will prefer. Another piece that you need to understand is that everybody wants to be a winner. That means that if the master says, if you have this criteria, then you get to win, your family gets to win, you get to live well, you get all of these perks because these are the criteria you need to reach. Let's say that light skin is one of those criteria. Then we see populations around the world, India, Africa, applying face bleach so that they can look more like the winning team. So we take it out of the concept of racism a little bit. Because in India, it's not so much about racism or maybe caste as it is about if you're closer to white looking, you get opportunity. So I caution Black people, a lot of the commenters did not look outside of the parameter of the Black community and see the bigger picture of this is something far out of our management league. Do we perpetuate it? Yes, but we have to understand who set the rules and why. Colorism is based on who gets an opportunity, who gets a privilege. And that's why, as you were saying, Mr. Bush, that when we look at color and we look at the benefits, and I think somebody mentioned passing for white, because it says, zing, I get the lottery ticket because I can use that number. That's all I got to say about that.
We have quite a few. Let me read some of these. Let me read some of these comments. It says colorism is posed. Let me see right here. All right, colorism is post-colony issue with France. Fanon explores in this book, Black Skin, White Mask. Wow, its attempts for people of color to identify and accustom themselves to being closer to whiteness. European culture and language embodies whiteness. That's an interesting comment. Interesting comments. Another one says both. Another one says both. This one says it's sneakier than racism. Sneakier than racism. I'm gonna come back to that one. That's pretty good. I like that. But I gotta let me tweak that one and hopefully I can broaden this individual's mindset about being sneakier than racism. This one says you can't have one without the other. All right, Miss Addie, Mr. Bush, man, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Right on the head of which way we want to go with what we're trying to broaden the spectrum of how people think. My main goal, and Miss Addie, you know me, you know how I roll. God put inside of me to unite men, and also put inside me unite men of all color, of all races. But my projection of what He's given me soulfully first is to get an understanding of our Black men. Now, we say, what's the difference, or what's worse, colorism or racism? Let me explain this part right here. With One Blood Movement of Unity trying its best to collaborate with multiple Black men, some of them are light skinned, some of them are my complexion, pecan, some are very dark skinned. The niche of it is I'm connecting with what is called a Black man. Now, can I go biblical just a little bit, Ms. A?
Go there, please.
Just a little bit. Now, we talked about this earlier, and you can bounce off of it. When Christ was in this realm right here, if we're going to really hate on colorism, if we're really going to pound on colorism and compare it to racism in this format and in this room right now, I really want you to think for a second of what color did the Bible say Christ was? If colorism is offensive and it's a division, I need you to think of what color Christ was in the Bible. It's recorded. I didn't say it. I can read it for you. I can find it for you. I can tell you. But at this point, I want you to go find it and I want you to go read it for yourself. But and what I'm telling my white family always is to get an understanding first of exactly who you are and where you come from. What I'm telling my black men and my black family, get an understanding. Miss Addie is giving the history. Bush is giving economic side, a higher rated or higher stated what he's going through through a different state. In other words, that's the way he perceives it, that's the way he's seeing it. So you put history, then you put economics. In between there, we have a thing that we call growth if you understand it. If you would limit yourself just a few minutes and take your pride out and say, you know what, I have some really poor teachings from my ancestry. Some really poor teachings. This young man was shot and killed in Georgia. Miss Addie, we went over this last week, but they're really pushing it out now. 25 years old, black male. Colorism is in this one. And I know you're asking me, how is colorism with this young man running in a white neighborhood? Black man running in a white neighborhood. Why does it have to be a white neighborhood? Who you represent? I'm gonna hit that in a minute. I'm gonna come back in a minute. I'm gonna hit that. But it's 25-year-old young man running through a neighborhood, and the video is even out. They murdered this dude, hands down. Now, seeing that as a black man takes a chunk out of my heart, because that's my brother. Now, this man was probably, he was a shade darker than I was. Shade darker than me. I want you to hear this clearly. He's a shade darker than me. But what happened to him took a chunk out of my heart. What happened to my ancestors takes a chunk out of my heart. Why? It's about who I'm representing. It's about where I'm going with my representation. If you want to stick with colorism, here's the way I look at it when you're representing colorism. There's a movie called Gridiron. You had the 95s, two gangs. It was 95s and 88s. Those two black young men was in the same prison. They went to the same jail, served the same sentence. Both came out playing football, doing very well for themselves. What changed in that prison with them two? They represented, it was 80, one had 95, that was his gang, that's his block, black man. Other one 88 on his wrist, that's his block. Here's the difference between colorism with white folks and black folks. Colorism with black folks, 95, 88 hate each other, but they represent their block. That's their block, that's his block. Don't cross my path, it's a mutual respect. You don't cross mine, I don't cross yours. White folks, history-wise, just like in New York, I'm gonna bring it to you from this way. Just like in New York, this past weekend, they had so-called the white beach. A little further down south, they had so-called the black beach. Cops went to the white beach. They said they had some issues, but the treatment from the cops was totally different. No arrest was made, no tasing, no spraying, no guns drawn. You go just a mile or two, they said like a mile or two down the road to the black side of the beach. Colorism, quote unquote, don't really know New York like that, but you got a white cop forcing a black male down to the ground. For what reason? When white folks have colorism, they still stick together. Even if they're wrong, they still stick together. I want you to get this clearly, my black family. If we start sticking together, 88s and 95s, them brothers came together and they became a united front on a football field. That's why I love that movie, because and I love football because it's a unity on the field. Everybody's the same color. Doesn't matter. It's a war. It's just a team against another team. But when they put them two together, one was lighter than one was darker than the other. That part didn't matter. One rep this group, one rep that group. But when they came together, who did they rep? That's what colorism is. That's where it originates from. It's your representation. Now, biblically, my representation is Christ. Why? Not because he was brown skin or what's the correct term? Brass, bronze.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If they want, some people like to be politically correct. So you want to be politically correct, it was bronze and wool hair. I've never seen a white person with wool hair. You want to challenge me on, that's fine. We can go to scripture. It's great. But maybe before I hit that part, Miss Addie, Bush, you want to tag in?
Yeah, I think like you're saying, like the 89s, excuse me, I got the numbers mixed up.
These are 88, 95.
88, 95. It kind of resembles like gangland culture too.
Mm-hmm.
We're all fighting for the same block, but the white man owns the block. So why are we fighting over the block? Why not buy the block together?
I want you to catch that one. Miss Addie, what you got?
I'm enjoying just listening to the dialogue. Let me slide on this one, and you continue. You two continue.
All right. Let me take it back to the spiritual mindset. That one that said, for horrible. Can't have one without the other one. Can't have one without the other one. Can't have one without the other one. That's very interesting. The reason being that's so interesting to me is because that's what you've been trained to think. That's your train of thought right now. I've been blessed, and this is not boasting, but I've been so blessed that the acreage that I have been able to buy where my house is. I researched it. This is slave land. Slaves ran, right? They plowed this whole field that my house sits on.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that back for them. Why did I do that? It wasn't because of colorism. It was because of what I'm representing. So we got to shift this thing called colorism into representation. Colorism is nothing but representation of one. That's it. Now, if you want to argue it and go to the fact of saying, yo, this is my block. Yes, that's your block. Man, I'm not fine because this is my house. You can't come disrespect my house, but you can come break bread with me. I get on the grill. We can do something together. And we can figure this thing out. T.D. Jakes said something that was so powerful. He said, and it's an old phrase, you teach a man to fish, to eat for a day. What is it saying? Teach him how to fish, eat for a day.
No, you give him a fish, he can eat for a day. And if you teach him how to fish, he will eat for life.
I love what T.D. Jakes added to the end of it. He said, instead of him eating for a life, why not we help him gain building a pond, so he can teach others how to fish for life. I love that, because that's where your colorism is.
Exactly.
That's where it's representation. You got to learn how to represent in colorism. If we're going to be white people can't be colorism.
They'll never be.
They can't.
That's
so
right.
It's the colorism is representation of where we come from, the pain and the suffering that we've been through. Now we have made it thus this far, and we're going to just throw all that away and say, no, I don't like you because you're on that block. Yo, I love that you're on that block. That's yours. Just like all the different churches that are around we got one on every corner about like liquor houses. You got one on every corner. But them, why can't we just bring them bad boys together for one Sunday or one Sunday every quarter?
That's true.
Representation. Colorism is only on one side. It's not on the white side. It's only on one side. It's people of color. We got to get that grip and we got to understand that thing. That's when you start seeking in and getting a lot deeper into who you really are and what you're going to become because of who you should be representing. The fight that has been already laid out for us it brings tears to your eyes when you really start thinking about what Martin Luther King and them, that group, all those who've been through. And then when you go behind him, I had a kid ask me, it hurt me to the heart because of what he asked me. He said, Fred, he said, where he's 20 years old. He said, where's our Martin Luther King? And I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I'm trying my best, brother. I'm in the streets. I'm teaching as much as I can. He said, no, not you. He said, I don't mean it that way. And I'm not taking nothing away from him. He said, but where's our leadership? Where's us? Who's going to guide me, man? Who's got me besides you? And I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. That's a real good question. So we got to put this group of men together, black men. Now, I love my white family. Don't get me wrong. It's unity. But I got to preach and I got to get my brothers together first so they can understand how we can move into a good relationship with the opposite race or the opposite ethnic group. We got to get that first. So we get our brothers, we got to get together. We can do this. And the way we can do it is to continue in these conversations of understanding. That's the only way, because I got to get an understanding of what 88, what you mean. You might be on 95, you might be on 88. I don't know. What do you mean? What's your understanding of it? Help me understand what you mean by representing what you're living as. Help me with that. And once you help me with that, I help you with understanding what I have. And then we put that bad boy together. The old saying is, you can't lead a horse to the, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. A lot of people always say that. My saying is, why not teach him? Let's teach the horse how to drink. Let's bring the 88s in and 95s in. Let's teach them how to drink the water. That's us. That's this generation right here. This is our time to get on top of the ball game, baby, and rock it out as young black men moving forward in a positive way, supported by our beautiful black women.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's the reason why we have so many black women that have those different attitudes, family. It's us. It's our fault. And I'll take full responsibility of it. I can't get it all right, but I am going to strive because I'm the leader. I am. I'm the leader of a black race. Why? Because I'm black. And I'm one of the founding leaders. I have to be. Ms. Addie, you got?
Continue. Beautiful.
Bush, what you got, man?
I love hearing from my black men.
Well, to touch on what you were saying, yes, there is too much division in the black community. We have Haitians, we have Cubans, we have Afro-Black, we have, natural Africans. And as you said before, white people, they don't have no colorism. But we have so much division in our race, and we need to stop that. We need to change and come together. And I mean, what we can do together, we can do so much together as a race, as a people, than what we're doing right now is dividing. It's just too much division. And the white people, I mean, you don't hear white people like, you have white people that are Jewish, Italian, some of them are, Spanish or biracial, but they still have white skin. All you see is white. To me, all I see is white. As far as black people, all they see is black. They don't care if even if you're colored, like if they find out that, say your mother's black and your father's white, as soon as they find out you're anything other than white, they're going to look at you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, this is not knocking down white folks at all. This is teaching you your history, family. Y'all know I'm one blood. It doesn't work that way with me. I mentor too many all color kids. And this is not the representation of hurting you or demoralizing you or taking you down. This is truth. coming out of, you got to know who you are. You got to know what you're representing, because every time we see it, every time this 20-year-old that popped up on me, told me this is what he's saying at 20. This is what he's saying. So if he's saying this at 20, what is he going to create into? What is he going to become at my age at 40? If he's still saying this at 20, we in 2000. That's the only thing they keep. That's what the millennials say. Man, we in 2000. How is this even possible? I know you're asking me, how can we fix it? Coach Fred, listen to me. Listen to me carefully. The best way to defeat racism is to show an abundance of love through diversity. We have to continue in these type of conversations for understanding and for gratitude. I know you're asking, why am I saying gratitude? You got to be so grateful for who you are as an individual, period. God made you. That's the way I look at it. Now, I see color and I understand color very well, but I love the fact that God does not, you cannot dictate who God loves, period, point blank. You can't dictate that. You can't take it no other kind of way. We have to get to the point where we can understand each other completely. That's the mark right there. That's what I'm pushing. That's my message. Understanding each other completely. That's how we can move forward. Keep bringing each other together. The more and the more and the more and the more, the merrier and the merrier and the merrier it will get. As long as understanding is in the mix. You take understanding out, you have what we have today. Ridiculous shootings, kids getting beat up by cops. I couldn't tell you the nightmare of what I would have in my mind if one of my sons, who I know are good kids, now they are kids, trust me, hey, no parent truly know their child. That's impossible. Because I was a hot mess, and my daddy, my parents thought I was just good. I was wide open. They have no idea what the foolishness I was into.
Right.
So, but I know that part of my children, and something like those incidents happen is not something you want to think about or something you want to be even cross your mind as you're home and they're out on the roads driving in today's time. Today's time is almost worse than when I was coming up with the cops. It's amazing to me. So I know you're still wanting to know the question. The question is colorism worse than racism? I'm gonna hold off on that because I'm gonna come back next week. I gotta hold off because I gotta come back next week. I got something else I want to hit with it next week. Next Tuesday. I really feel out in my spirit that we need to wait on that for the answer, to define the answer. I hope you listen to what I'm saying. I hope you can tell the difference between the two. And with that, I would love to see your comments. Miss Addie, come on now, you got to give me some truth.
You know what? The truths are that all of us have homework to do.
Oh.
We can do this wonderful conversation, but then when we go into our secret closet,
ooh, you better get your prayer on.
And we say so and so about this person, you know they have this.
Yeah.
Look at so and so based on what they look like and their color. Look at so and so acting like.
Yeah.
How comfortable are we representing? And even if we're not saying it out loud, what we're thinking. So we got to do some self-analysis. What are we saying in front of our children about them old black people, blah, 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 and then we're going to throw in a color. Dark skin, light skin, think white, good hair.
All right.
So yeah, we get, it's kind of like in the Bible, we need to deal with the log in our own eye
Mhm. Mhm.
in terms of that truth and understanding that you're talking about. So I'm excited. I can hardly wait to next week.
That's what I'm talking about. What you got, Bush?
I, I, I mean, I feel the same way too. Hey, you ain't talking about she was talking about, our hair, they look at our facial features, our noses, our lips, our eyes. I remember I used to look at old cartoons,
Mm.
and if you look at a lot of old cartoons, it's so much racism in that stuff.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Now that I'm older, I can see it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of glad they don't censor that stuff, so you can teach your kids, hey, that's what they think of us. That's what they think of us. They just think we're dark and we're always dancing, and these lips and these eyes and all this. We don't look like that. We don't act like that. We're civilized people. We are people. We're human, and they treat us that way.
Fred,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
I feel like I just went to the principal's office.
That's right. What? No, not you. But in terms of accountability, what are
Mhm.
we hearing in the popular music that our young Black males and females are throwing up in our face all the time? We need to discuss that too in
I gotta hit that.
another show. But,
We'll hit that. Mhm.
this is just like with the cartoons.
Mhm.
What are we putting into the heads of our youth,
Mhm.
our children? If they're
Oh
able
yeah.
to repeat the rap words, what are the words telling them about
Right.
their people?
Mhm.
Yeah, that is very true.
I've always known if you can repeat rap, you can repeat scripture.
Hmm.
That's definitely true.
Mhm. There's a whole book in the Bible that's songs.
Psalms, right?
Sing them all.
Exactly.
Ah, that's right.
Hmm.
What is it like? Is it like 400 psalms, or is it more than that?
In
I,
the book of Psalms,
yeah.
No,
it,
not that many.
no, uh,
I,
chapters. There's
I
chapters.
know.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah, I know it's more than 100.
Yeah,
I understand what
it's
you're saying.
over 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
119 is my favorite, one of my favorites.
Hmm.
But listen, family, understanding and then holding yourself accountable for what you do know, and plan on going to a specific direction of unity. I really want to get away from them, us, those, that. I really want to get to the point to where we're saying we as a people. One blood, movement of unity. We have to move in unity. The only way we can do it is understanding. Understand what we're trying to do. Understand yourself, where you come from. That's why I bring history in, because I want you to really get that part. I'm not gonna go back into it, but I really want you to get the understanding who you are and where you come from. We can't move forward. And even your comments, with your comments, you'll disagree with what we just said with just your comments if you don't get an understanding of who you are. You got to be who you're going to be and love it. You got to be who you're going to be and really, really love it. Because once you really start loving inside yourself, it's so much easier to love anyone else for all their flaws and all their dysfunctional things that they do. You will just love them anyway. Why? Because you are in love with yourself, and it doesn't matter at that point. That's why Christ was able to fulfill his purpose. He was in love with what was inside of him.
Mm.
He knew it. That's what made him, gave him his strength to fulfill his purpose even more great. I gotta come back next week. That was pretty good. Well, y'all, you have anything else to say? Your social media, Bush. You went mute.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I did that. If anyone wanted to send me an email, send it to saymarseille@yahoo.com. I don't have a social media yet, but I'm working on it. Now,
it's all good.
This is my first podcast, so I think I did pretty good, and I
You
enjoyed
did
myself.
excellent.
Yes.
I enjoyed myself. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, getting out there, Miss Addie.
Yeah.
Addie True.
No KNOW Black History podcast on Patreon. Join it. Find my YouTube channel, ASB History, and look at 60 history videos for free. Now, my videos are not the fancy smancy, to entertain you. My videos, you're going to have to read some words.
Amen.
But you're going to learn some Black history.
Amen.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Indeed. Family, it's all love. It's all love. I know you're sitting there thinking, the ones that are watching, look, take heed to what we just, everything, all the content that was just given out, all the material, take heed to that. Listen to it, let it run back through you, man. Rewatch this and share it much as you want to, and re-listen to it, gain it, and come back next week for the answer. Because I can't give it out right now, is which one's worse. I hope you can actually, when you was hearing what we said, which one was worse. I really believe, I have faith in you, that you know which one is worse. And I have faith that you understand the difference between the both of them. And I touched on colorism so much this week. So next week, I will hit what One Blood fights against: racism. You can reach me at One Blood MOU. That's my website, onebloodmou.com. You can also find me. If you type in One Blood MOU, you will find out all my social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, my website, all that pops up. This is a big one for me tomorrow. I am loving this right now because tomorrow I am launching my coaching business tomorrow on Facebook. It'll be a business page. I'm turning my whole One Blood into business page. So tomorrow I'll be launching my life coach business all over my social media, on my website. It is going to be awesome. I'm going to blast the media. Thank you.
Congrats.
Yes, thank you. So I'm kicking it off. Self-unity life coach. That's me. Self-unity life coach. I unite you with you. That's what understanding comes in. That's where it kicks in. Got to understand yourself. You got to get to know you. You're beautiful. You're so gorgeous on the inside out. It's not inside in. All you women that's doing what you do, you're gorgeous either way. But I want you to be gorgeous from the inside. I want you to learn the inside first. Get to know that person. That's the golden one. Why? How do you find gold? You got to go hunt for it.
Amen.
Amen.
Got to go hunt for it. Peace and blessings to all of you. You know One Blood loves you. Y'all got anything else before we go?
No, you've said it all. Thank you.
All right, let me end the show. Peace and love, y'all. Family, be careful, be safe, stay clean. Stay clean. It's like foolishness going on out there. Stay clean in all you do and be safe. Remember, One Blood loves you. Y'all be good.